border. It's focusing on crime.
The themes of his campaign.
Yeah.
Which that totally makes sense to me. But I do want to push back on what David was saying about essentially saying that this is a problem that came from the Democratic side. And I would hope that we could take a little time off before we get to this. But the rhetoric out of the Republican side, out of Donald Trump himself or Don Jr. about the attack on Paul Pelosi, mocking him, making up a rumor that this was some gay sex event, right? And wasn't a terrible attack by someone who was politically motivated and could have taken his life. That is the genesis of this. This goes back to 2016.
Well, you can chicken and egg.
And just when we needed her most, Fox News liberal Jessica Tarlov is back, and she is shooting down Republican talking points, as she always does, with perfection. Now, after the tragic events of yesterday, you would hope that there would be broad condemnation of the actions that took place and nothing more. No politicizing the issue, no trying to score political points. And I didn't see that from Democratic officials, but I certainly saw it from Republicans who wanted to blame Joe Biden, say that his rhetoric of clearly pointing out the fact that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy is what caused this, instead of the history of encouraging political violence that we see on the right. I think January 6th might come to mind. Donald Trump, like Jessica Tarlov said, since 2016 has been encouraging political violence. He has been dehumanizing the opposition, making his enemy evil in the minds of his cult-like supporters. And that's the reason we see an attack like what happened on Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, a disgraceful attack, a disgraceful act of political violence that Donald Trump laughed about. He laughed. He thought it was funny. And to see Republicans act like it's Joe Biden who is encouraging political violence, or Joe Biden whose rhetoric and actions has spurred this on, is just disgraceful. Joe Biden is direct in the threat that Donald Trump's agenda poses, the threat that his lack of character poses to our democracy, and nothing more. But if you want to talk about attacks, I think this is a perfect time to flash back to Jessica Tarlov again, and her making the case of why it's really Republicans and their rhetoric that causes and stokes these flames of fear and anger that leads to disgraceful political violence like what we saw yesterday. Let's check out what Jessica had to say.
But I really need everyone to spare me the faux outrage and the pearl clutching about this. A little collection of things that Donald Trump and high-ranking Republicans call liberals on a daily basis: anarchists, anti-American, deranged, communists, corrupt, compromised, groomers and perverts, thugs and traitors. Now, she was explicit that she was talking about a subsection of the Republican Party the same way that Joe Biden is when he talks about this MAGA extremism. But you tell me, if the leader of the Democratic Party, so that would be Joe Biden, was facing 4 indictments with 91 felony counts, he had been found liable of sexually assaulting a woman and defaming her, that's E. Jean Carroll, guilty of fraud, sharing the nation's secrets, not only in the Mar-a-Lago indictment, but there was a report yesterday from ABC News that he had shared information about our nuclear submarine capacities with an Australian billionaire who's a member at Mar-a-Lago, who had then gone on and shared that with dozens of other people, ended up making a purchase, I think, of 3 subs. It included specifics up to how many nuclear warheads they carry and how close they can get to Russian subs without being detected. And then I told you, so all of that is happening, and he's shooting up in the polls. And when you see those interviews of Trump supporters outside of the rallies, they're like, none of this is true. It's the big lie. He won the election, et cetera. And you wouldn't say to me, you guys are in a cult? It's actually tame what Hillary Clinton was saying.
So like Jessica said, when Republicans cast Democrats as the most evil people in the world, not saying that we have policy disagreements with them, not saying that we'd like to see the country go in a different direction, not saying that, as Joe Biden has, their agenda needs to be stopped. But when they push conspiracy theories and they drum up hate and anger, it's what leads to political violence. And their responses to that political violence encourage it as well. Look what Donald Trump had to say, mocking political violence, talking about Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, who was attacked. Check this out. It's just disgraceful.
and will stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi, who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know? And she's against building a wall at our border, even though she has a wall around her house, which obviously didn't do a very good job.
So, of course, what happened yesterday to Donald Trump was a tragedy, and again, broadly condemned. Democrats were the adults in the room. There was no effort to score political points. Why would we? Why would that be the first thing that came to someone's head? But you have Democrats being adults, taking control and saying, this has to stop. We have to unite the country, right? Trying to control the situation, trying to lower the temperature. But then you have Republicans like Lauren Boebert, Mike Collins, J.D. Vance saying that Joe Biden, in the case of Mike Collins, tweeted this out, saying that Joe Biden called in this attack, that it was at the direction of Joe Biden. And this is the type of conspiratorial thought that Republicans have been grooming in their supporters. They've been saying that it's Joe Biden's DOJ who's been prosecuting Donald Trump and is going to be coming after you next. The FBI raid of Mar-a-Lago, which they said was an assassination attempt. This is the type of fear, this is the type of rhetoric that they use, that they instill in their cult-like followers, that leads to this unrest, that causes political violence. And then when it actually happens, instead of condemning it, they laugh at it, they make jokes. They think it's funny. And those aren't the people who should be leading our country in a moment like this. How can we move forward? How can we unify if those are the people who want to lead our country? We can't. But thankfully, we have a man of character in the White House right now. And I talk about character as being such an important element of this presidential race, not only because Joe Biden has talked about restoring the soul of America, not just that, but because the office of the president, because of the Supreme Court, now has the opportunity to be abused. The Supreme Court said presidents have immunity. They can act with impunity. They can do whatever they want in an argument made by Donald Trump's own lawyer saying that if the president wanted to send SEAL Team 6 after his political opponents, he could. That's what the office of the president is now. You're a king. So not only do we need a man with character, a person with character in the White House like Joe Biden, because he won't abuse that office to help himself, help his rich friends like Donald Trump wants to, but we need a person with character, and that person is Joe Biden, because we need someone who can unite this country. And Joe Biden is that person, and Joe Biden did that today, making these remarks about the horrible events of yesterday. And I just want to show them to you in their entirety because it's just so important. So let's take a look at what Joe Biden had to say today.
Good afternoon. Last night, I spoke with Donald Trump. I'm sincerely grateful that he's doing well and recovering, and we had a short but good conversation. Jill and I are keeping him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victim who was killed. He was a father. He was protecting his family from the bullets that were being fired, and he lost his life. God love him. We're also praying for the full recovery of those who were injured. And we're grateful to the Secret Service agents and other law enforcement agencies and individuals who risked their lives literally for our nation. As I said last night, there is no place in America for this kind of violence or any violence for that matter. An assassination attempt is contrary to everything we stand for as a nation, everything. It's not who we are as a nation. It's not America. And we cannot allow this to happen. Unity is the most elusive goal of all, but nothing is important than that right now, unity. We'll debate and we'll disagree. That's not going to change, but we're going to not lose sight, in fact, who we are as Americans. Look, Vice President Harris and I were just briefed in the Situation Room by my Homeland Security team, including the Director of the FBI, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Attorney General, the Director of the Secret Service, my Homeland Security Advisor, the National Security Advisor, and we're going to continue to be briefed. The FBI is leading this investigation, which is still in its early stages. We don't yet have any information about the motive of the shooter. We know who he is. I urge everyone, please, don't make assumptions about his motives or his affiliations. Let the FBI do their job and their partner agencies do their job. I'm instructed that this investigation be thorough and swift, and the investigators will have every resource they need to get this done. Look, as this investigation continues, here's what we're going to do. First, Mr. Trump, as a former president and nominee of the Republican Party, already receives a heightened level of security. And I've been consistent in my direction to the Secret Service to provide him with every resource, capability, and protective measure necessary to ensure his continued safety. Second, I've directed the head of the Secret Service to review all security measures for the Republican National Convention, which is scheduled to start tomorrow. And third, I've directed an independent review of the national security at yesterday's rally to assess exactly what happened. And we'll share the results of that independent review with the American people as well. And finally, I'll be speaking more about this tonight at greater length from the Oval Office. We must unite as one nation. We must unite as one nation to demonstrate who we are. And so may God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, when you spoke to
Unity is the most elusive goal, but nothing is more important than right now. That is the type of message that we need from our leader. That is the type of message that we are getting from Joe Biden. And that is why I am proud of my president. If you like this video and you stuck around to the end, make sure to drop a blue heart in the comments. And this is a new and growing channel. And if you want to be a part of that growth, if you want to be a part of that movement, we are getting close to hitting 1,000 subscribers. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Let me know that you've joined this movement, that you are a part of the channel now. And I will make sure to thank you for your support in the comments. And until next time, I will see y'all soon.